6 in the morning at a stone quarry outside Mount Holly, Pennsylvania. The biggest machine on the site is a Caterpillar 336 excavator, a digger that weighs as much as 20 cars and feeds crushed rock to everything else in the operation. This morning, its arm will not move. A small part inside the machine that controls that arm has failed, and until it is replaced, the digger is dead weight. The supervisor calls the Caterpillar dealer at 6:15. The part is not on the shelf. It is not in the regional warehouse. The soonest one can reach him is 9 days away. 9 days. The whole quarry runs on the rock that machine digs. No digging means no crushing, no loading, no trucks moving. Idle crews still get paid. $40,000 in lost production for every day it sits, which over 9 days comes to $360,000. He set the phone down and stared out at the empty haul road. What he did not know was that the company that built his machine had already decided, in a boardroom far from this quarry, that customers like him mattered less than the spare parts they would keep buying. And 2 states away, a salesman from a brand he barely knew was already taking the calls of everyone walking out the door. For most of the last century, Caterpillar did not just lead the business of moving earth, it owned it. Its yellow machines dug the foundations of highways, mines, dams, and pipelines on every continent. The real power was never only the machines. It was the network of dealers standing behind them. If a contractor in Canada, Australia, or the American West broke down on a Tuesday, a Caterpillar technician was often on site by Wednesday. Speed of repair was the product. The machine was only the part you could see. But a business built on fast repairs is only as strong as the machine those repairs keep running. And here is the part most people never learn. Caterpillar came to the digging machine late. For most of its history, it built bulldozers and loaders, the machines that push and scoop, not the machines that dig and swing. By the time the modern excavator took over the world's job sites in the 1960s, Caterpillar was still selling an older design. It had built a fortress to defend a lead in excavators it had never actually held. The competition came from 2 directions at once. First, from Japan. Komatsu and Hitachi had treated the excavator as their main business, not a side project. They obsessed over the part of the machine that powers the arm, the system of fluid and pressure called hydraulics. Their diggers did the same work while burning far less fuel, and on a job site where a machine idles half the day, fuel is the bill that never stops. Therefore, when a contractor cared most about the cost of moving each ton of dirt over the life of the machine, and not about the size of the dealer network, the comparison did not flatter Caterpillar. The Japanese machines simply cost less to run. Then came the second direction, and it was the one nobody in Peoria took seriously at first: China. 2 companies, Sany and XCMG, were not trying to build a better machine than Caterpillar. They built one that was good enough, sold it for roughly 2/3 of the price, lent the buyer the money on the spot, and parked a repair van in the next town. Shandong Province, China, 2011. A road builder stands in a dealer lot outside the city of Jinan, looking at 2 machines. On the left, a Caterpillar. On the right, a Sany that costs nearly 40% less. The Caterpillar salesman talks about reliability and resale value. The Sany salesman offers to deliver in 3 days and to finance the whole thing that afternoon. The contractor runs his hand along the welded seam on the Sany's arm. He has heard the American and Japanese machines last longer. He has also worked out that he can buy 3 Sany diggers for the price of 2 Caterpillars, work them hard, and still come out ahead when the first one wears out. If the cheaper machine does 70% of the work for 60% of the price, The famous yellow paint is a luxury he cannot justify. Reconstructed from the plain math any buyer in that lot was running, the thought that ends it is simple. The hole gets dug either way. He sets his hand flat on the hood and signs. But one sale does not move a market. What moved the market was what happened over the next 10 years. Here is the reason Caterpillar made the choice it made, and would make it again. Selling machines is a feast or famine business. A contractor buys a digger once, then runs it for years before buying another. On a company's earnings chart, those sales arrive in unpredictable spikes, then vanish. Selling parts and repairs is the opposite. Every filter, every hose, every hour of a mechanic's time comes back month after month, reliably at a rich profit. Investors pay far more for a company with steady, repeating income than for one that lurches from boom to bust. In 2017, Caterpillar told Wall Street it would grow that repeating service income from around $14 billion to $28 billion within a decade. The executive protecting the price of a premium machine was not trying to lose China. He was trying to double that service income. Chasing Sany on price would have meant cheaper machines, thinner profits, and a dealer network rebuilt around volume instead of repairs. Those two goals point in opposite directions. When they collide, the number on the slide wins. Caterpillar protected the parts. It let go of the machine. Two numbers tell the rest of this story. The slice of the Chinese market Caterpillar held before 2011 and the slice it held after. The distance between them is the whole video. For years, foreign brands had owned most of the Chinese market, with Caterpillar and Komatsu at the top. But the retreat on price threw the doors open, and therefore the Chinese brands surged, climbing past 70% of their own enormous home market in roughly a decade. This was no small loss. China had become the largest market for diggers on the planet. Losing it did not just cost sales, it cost the mountain of volume that pays for designing the next machine. Therefore, the Chinese companies, now rich on home sales, looked outward. Sany machines began turning up in Southeast Asia, then Africa, then South America, running the same simple play: good enough machine. 2/3 the price. Money lent on the spot. But Caterpillar could not drop its own price to fight back without admitting its premium was beatable, and therefore it held the line and watched the cheaper end of the market disappear. But there was a trap hidden inside its own strategy. Every machine a rival sells is a machine Caterpillar will never service. The repeating parts income. The whole plan was built to protect was quietly leaving the building, tucked inside someone else's digger. The real cause is specific to the digging machine, and it is not the story people usually reach for, the one about Caterpillar moving its head office to Texas in 2017. That move was a symptom. The cause runs deeper and older. Caterpillar came to the excavator as a follower, and it never built its pride or its identity around that machine the way the Japanese did. So when the company's finance culture asked a simple question, what is this machine actually for? The answer it heard was not a better dig or a lower running cost. The answer was a fleet of machines in the field to sell parts to. A machine seen as nothing but a future parts customer is a machine nobody fights to improve, least of all at the cheap end, which was exactly where Sany attacked. Caterpillar defended the parts business. It forgot to defend the machine because somewhere along the way, it had stopped believing the machine was the point. None of this empties the world's quarries of yellow iron overnight. Hundreds of thousands of Caterpillar machines are still digging, and they will keep running for years on the very parts this strategy was built to sell. That is the comfort, and it is also the trap. Because the new orders, the machines being bought and financed right now in places like Jakarta, Lagos, and Sao Paulo, are increasingly not yellow. The next generation of machines is already being chosen, and Caterpillar is not the one choosing it. Caterpillar did not lose the machine in a fair fight. It decided the machine mattered less than the parts that keep it running, and the world went and bought from the companies that still believed in the machine, which leaves one question this story cannot answer yet. Komatsu watched the same Chinese rivals eat the same market from a closer seat, and it placed a very different BET on machines that drive themselves and run on batteries. Whether that bet saves Komatsu or only delays the same fate belongs to the next machine and the next site. That one carries the rock out of the pit. That one is the haul truck.